Streets of Fear, Prison, Cellblock C.
They dumped me in Cellblock C after I got into a fight in the yard. The warden sneered something about me learning respect before slamming the cell door behind me. Cellblock C had a reputation: whispers of bad vibes, unexplained noises, and shadows where there shouldn't be any. But I figured it was all just prison talk. I'd been through worse. The cell they gave me was a cramped little box of misery. One cot, a grimy sink, and walls scratched with the desperate etchings of the forgotten. My cellmate Marcy was a wiry, pale woman who barely said 2 words that first night. She just lay in her bunk, staring at the ceiling while I tried to make sense of my new surroundings. That's when I heard it. Knock, knock, knock. It came from the wall beside my bed, sharp and deliberate, like someone trying to get my attention. Great, I muttered. Neighbors who don't know how to shut up. I banged back, irritated. Keep it down, I shouted up. Behind me, Marcy bolted upright. Don't do that, she hissed, her voice shaking. I turned to look at her, confused. What's your problem? It's probably just someone messing around. It's not. She didn't even look at me when she said it. Just ignore it, don't answer. I didn't take her serious. Why would I? This place was full of rumors and head games, and I wasn't about to get rattled on my first night. But her reaction left an unease in my gut. The next day, I asked around about the knocking. Brenda, a lifer with a knack for prison lore, gave me a look that froze me in my tracks. From the wall next to your cell? She asked, lowering her voice. Ain't supposed to be anyone on the other side of that wall. Been locked up ever since Maria. She trailed off, looking over her shoulder like she was expecting Maria to appear. Maria who? I pressed. She leaned in, her breath hot against my ear. Maria Jordan. Back in '87, she killed her bunkmate with a shiv and then hung herself with a bedsheet. They say her spirit's still there. She knocks until someone answers, and if you do... Brenda's voice dropped to a whisper. You disappear. I laughed it off, even though my skin crawled. Ghost stories. That's all it was. But that night, the knocking came back. 3 sharp raps, just like before. This time, it wasn't just the wall. The knocks came from the floor beneath my cot, from the bars of the cell. They seemed to circle me, echoing louder and louder. Marcy sat frozen on her bunk, her knees pulled up to her chest. Stop answering, she begged. It's not worth it. I wanted to tell her to calm down, but something about her terror kept me quiet. By the 5th night, I woke up to an icy chill in the cell. My breath came out in visible puffs, though it was the middle of summer. Marcy was at the sink, scrawling frantically on a sheet of toilet paper. What are you doing? I asked, my voice cracking. They're here, she mumbled, her hands shaking as she wrote. I snatched the paper from her. It was covered in the same sentence, written over and over. She is coming. She is coming. She is... A low growl cut through the room. The lights went out, plunging everything into total darkness. Marcy! I yelled, but she didn't answer. The air around me grew heavier, colder, like something was pressing down on my chest. I couldn't see, couldn't move. Then I saw them, 2 glowing eyes staring at me from the shadows. They weren't human. They couldn't be. A voice, cold and slithery, whispered in my ear, "You shouldn't have answered." The light snapped back on and I was alone. Marcy was gone, her bed empty. Her few belongings had vanished as if she'd never been there at all. Before I could process it, a guard appeared at my cell. Pack your things, he said, his face pale. You're being moved. Why? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Someone else requested this cell, he muttered without meeting my eyes. As I shuffled past the neighboring cell, I couldn't resist peeking inside. It was empty, untouched, except for a single word etched into the far wall. Maria.